transform your career, business, life, and relationships. This is the Growth to Freedom Show. Now, here is your host, Dan Kuschell.
Welcome to growthtofreedom.com. Are you ready to transform your life, business, and relationships? Well, I'm Dan Kuschell, and thanks for making us part of your day. We've got an incredible show today, a show that I've been looking forward to for months, actually. By the way, our show is presented by doneforyousolutions.com. We'd love to connect with you. You can join us on Twitter at Dan_Kuschell. That's Dan_KUSCHELL, or email us at info@growthtofreedom.com. That's info@growthtofreedom.com. So we're going to dive into it. Have you ever stopped and wondered, what are the skills that it takes to achieve personal and business mastery? Or how about the rituals that some of the most successful people in the world use to achieve massive success? Or how about what really does it take to build a company from scratch to multi-million-dollar status? Well, today's expert, today's guest, is someone that I've been fortunate and blessed to get to know over the last year and a half. We got a chance to meet on a trip that we took that we'll talk a little bit about with someone we consider a mentor in Richard Branson over on Necker Island. His name is Eelco De Boer. He's a serial entrepreneur. He runs 6 companies. He's a best-selling author. He's a dad. He's a husband. He has over 50,000 clients. To give you a little background on his story, he started selling hip-hop records online back about 20 years ago. He's a lifestyle entrepreneur. He's a voracious learner and note taker. We'll talk a little bit about that. And here's a unique factoid about Eelco. His products and his company are in Dutch. And so he doesn't even have anything available for you to sell. But here's something you should know as well. He's got over 1,000 tutorial videos on YouTube. He just launched his new podcast. And we are fortunate and blessed to bring you to him today on Growth to Freedom. So Eelco, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Dan. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Now, by the way, you did an incredible interview with Joe Polish, which is how we met. Joe Polish, Genius Network, over on Necker Island. And you did an incredible interview on ilovemarketing.com/195. So here's the thing. If you're watching right now or listening, if you want to get what I'll call the first segment of this interview, you can go to ilovemarketing.com/95 or go to growthtofreedom.com/23. We'll make sure that that's posted there so you can see that. And I'd like to kind of pick up where you all left off, Eelco, and dive right into it. So let's go for it here. I'm ready to have a lot of fun. What do you consider? You're a serial entrepreneur. You've built these incredible companies. You've solved a lot of problems. You found holes in the marketplace almost by accident. So what is it you love about being an entrepreneur? And maybe what's the worst part of being an entrepreneur as a dad and husband as well?
I think the best. I was in Italy yesterday with my mother, and we spoke about entrepreneurship, and she said yeah, it's so cool what you're doing. I was like, yeah. The cool thing about entrepreneurship is that you can literally come up with an idea and make it real, and you can make it happen. And so just think of something, and within weeks or months or sometimes years, it's there. And that's something that's really amazing with entrepreneurship. You can really come up with a crazy idea, for example, and then see if it works. And a lot of times it doesn't work, but if it works, it's magic. So really come up, create something from nothing is something that's magical to me.
That's awesome. And what would you say with that? That's an incredible gift, obviously. You get to help a lot of people doing what you do. You run a merchant service company, a hosting company, a web company, web design company, and a whole lot more. You have a coaching business that you've built as well, which is absolutely, serving. I've talked to a couple of your clients who just rave about the value you provide for them. So there's a lot of benefits to being what, if anything, would you say is the worst thing about being an entrepreneur?
It's I wouldn't want to say the worst thing. I'm a pretty positive guy, but I think one of the toughest things as an entrepreneur is that you have to make decisions all the time. And even if you're doing nothing, you have to decide to do nothing. And with that, oftentimes comes things like guilt or whatever. And it's something that's tough as an entrepreneur because every day we start with a clean slate. And then during the day, we have to think like, what is the best use of our time? And as an employee, for example, it's it's already done for you. This is what you need to do. But as an entrepreneur, you have to be aware of what's the best use of your time all the time, combined with having a family or friends, or so it could be a mind challenge. I was about to say a word, but I'm not. But it's something that's tough to think, to make decisions all the time, and it could be tough.
Absolutely. And obviously there's ups and downs. It can be like a roller coaster. And one of the things I talk a lot about in our programs is there are 5 unique skills in my mind to being a great leader, great dad, great husband, great business owner, entrepreneur. And that's, emotional mastery, the ability to sell or influence, persuade, marketing, right? The ability to have a story, recruit or hire talent. And then number 5 is personal productivity. Now based on what you just said, what's the best use of your time? You have a lot of unique rituals, right, that you adhere to. One of them being what you call internet fasting, if I'm not mistaken. So I'd love to know, for you to share with our viewers. I know you're actually live casting this through Periscope, if I'm not mistaken. You shared with me this morning. What are some of your personal productivity rituals that you work with on a regular basis? Walk me through a day in your life, Eelco, of what you do to get so much done that you accomplish on a regular basis.
Yeah, so I'm a huge fan of productivity in the right way. So if I had to walk you through a day, for example, today I woke up around 7:30, did my thing. So every morning till 11 o'clock, I have a clean calendar. So there's nothing scheduled till 11 in the morning, but also no internet. So for the till 11 in the morning, I have nothing on my schedule, no meetings, no appointments, nothing. And then at 11, I go to a trainer. So I work with a trainer, a personal trainer, from 11 to 12. And then I come home at 12:30, or maybe I go to the office at 12:30 or whatever. But from 12:30 to 6, oftentimes it's pretty full booked. So meetings with the team or partners, or sometimes with customers. Or this afternoon I had a coaching session, so I was getting coached this afternoon from 1 to 4. And then from 6, I try to be at home. So today at 6, I had dinner with my wife and with my daughter. I played with my daughter. We went to the park. We drove on my scooter. So we just have fun. And so for me, and and also between today was between 4 and 5. I have 1 hour of internet, and so for the last, like, the full day, I've been online for just 1 hour, and now I'm online because we have this interview. But if we wouldn't be on this interview, I would be offline. So I call it internet fasting. There's an internet window of 1 hour. And during that 1 hour, I check my emails, I answer my emails, I might pay an invoice, I might check my Twitter, I send some emails to people that I had to reach out to, whatever. But everything is between 3 and 4 p.m. most of the time. But today, because I was getting coached, it was from 4 to 5 p.m. And then I just switch off the internet. I switch off the internet from my cell phone, I switch off the internet from my laptop. And this gives me peace of mind. This makes me a different person, a better person, a more present person, a more happy person. I make better decisions. We talked about making decisions, or I talked about we both talked about making decisions, but also I make better decisions. I have a clear mind. So just simply switching off the internet makes me 10x productive, 10x more happy, 10x more present with my family, my friends, the people I work with. So yeah, that's a big thing for me.
And with that, you have set yourself up to win, right? We fall into many times success traps and failure traps, and even the most successful of us can fall into success traps. And one of the things is, I remember a quote from your interview with Joe Polish at ilovemarketing.com/195. You mentioned, I'm addicted to the internet. When I switch it off, I like myself more, and my wife likes me more too, right?
Yeah,
so there's this
time.
balance of being a dad, a husband, and an entrepreneur. And one of the qualities I see in you, at least my view of it, is you have just emotional mastery overall. And I know when we come back after the break, I really want to dive more into that. But one of the things you talk about with internet fasting, you have your team set you up to win too, because you know yourself well enough what your success traps are. And talk about this idea. You had your team set you up with a password, for example, like less time with Donnie. You play a game of pain and pleasure with yourself to make sure to anchor the positive rituals, the positive habits you want. Hit on that, here in about the minute or so we have left before the break.
Yeah, so the big trick is really simple. Facebook, I call it the blue monster. It could be really positive, good for business, but it's bad for your productivity. And what I do with Facebook, I give my team access to my Facebook account, make them change the password. And whenever I want to access Facebook, they have to come up with a painful password. So I have to type in, for example, less time with Dani. Dani is the name of my daughter. And it helps me being aware that every minute I spend on Facebook browsing other people's timeline is a minute I will never get back. And it's a minute that I could spend with my daughter.
Yeah, that's incredible. And I know your family's important to you. You know, being a dad and a husband. What advice would you give to someone who's trying to balance this, call it the pull of, this addiction of being an entrepreneur? I know as a workaholic, I battle this myself. I know a lot of dads do, husbands do. Hit on that, what you do to set yourself up so that you have this quality of life with your family as well as being a high-level, high-performing, high-achieving entrepreneur.
Yeah, so for me, it's if you want to have an epic life, you have to do epic stuff first, like make it a priority. And so, for example, I went to Italy for the last 4 days with my mother. And I mean, how often do you spend time with your mother or your father or maybe your sister or brother for multiple days in a row? And we went to an Andrea Bocelli concert in Italy. It was amazing. But it was because I put that as a priority, and I built my business around it. So oftentimes we think about first we're going to do business, and if everything is great, then we're going to do other epic stuff.
And what you do is you make your life epic. So would you like to learn how to make your life more epic, do more of the priorities that you want to do, and build a great life? Well, we're going to have that and a whole lot more with Eelco De Boer on growthtofreedom.com. Welcome back to growthtofreedom.com. Are you ready to get more transformation in your life, business, and relationships? Well, let's summarize the first segment of the show. We've got expert, best-selling author, serial entrepreneur, author, dad, and husband. He's got over 50,000 clients. His name is Eelco De Boer. He is an absolute expert when you talk about building a quality business, mixing with a quality life. And, if you're just joining us, the first segment of the show, we've been talking about entrepreneurship and, the idea of making it up and making it real. We've been talking about, the best part of being an entrepreneur, the quality of life it gives you, the ability to share with others, contribute to others' life, to make a difference, the balance of building quality time with those that matter, positive rituals, for Eelco, and we're going to talk more about this, is he's very disciplined on setting up his day so that he's in control of that day and essentially blocks off his calendar until 11 o'clock each morning. And then he gets incredibly focused. He only gives himself about 1 hour a day online on the internet so he doesn't get sucked in. And I know in your interview with Joe Polish on I Love Marketing, you talked about the idea that you like to look at the small things that have a huge impact. Joe talks about it in terms of the little hinges that swing big doors, Eelco. I guess I'm curious, what do you feel are the most important skills that it takes to be a successful entrepreneur and achieve life mastery?
The most important skills as an entrepreneur, I think you have to be optimistic about life and about opportunities. It's so important to see the good in people, but also to do the right stuff. So yeah, man. I mean, you need this optimistic mindset. You need to be cool to have this whole experience as an entrepreneur, all the ups and the downs. You need to have a game plan. To really, start making steps to eventually create an awesome business. And so it's really important to be optimistic, have a game plan, be cool, have fun with it, and enjoy the ride. And that's really important. And yeah.
That's fantastic. Let me see if I've got this right. Be optimistic, be cool, deal with the ups and downs, have a game plan, and enjoy the ride. That's the simple advice that you give?
Yeah, and that's awesome.
Yeah, that is awesome. And so, like, if you were talking to Donnie, right? How old is Donnie, by the way?
She's 2.5 years old right now.
2.5. And I know we've had this discussion. I actually created this show as a thumbprint or a footprint for my kids, that in 10 years, when they're really old enough to understand a lot of this, that they're going to be meeting people like you, right?
Yeah.
People like Joe Polish, all these incredible thought leaders. So what would you say to Donnie right now, right, as some of the most important lessons that you hope that she will have in her life and building her future success?
Oh man, that's a tough question, man. So my advice for my daughter for building a great life is really be open, embrace whatever happens, learn from everything, smile. Yeah, I think these are some of the things I would wish her. Um, yeah, and enjoy the ride again. It's like really live in the moment, enjoy every second of it, and but also learn from the struggles, and because it's not, obviously it's not always amazing, but if you learn from your struggles and the things that are tough, also be friendly with everybody. Befriend the right people, but be friendly with everybody, and be open for learning and for new worlds, new possibilities, and embrace new worlds, and embrace life.
That is incredible advice, and I thank you for that, by the way.
I thank you for asking the question, and I remember when we were at 25K, where at Joe Polish, great dude, by the way. But when we were talking about your show, and that you talked about that, like, this is my legacy, and I really resonated with that.
Yes, and speaking of that, your legacy, to put you on the spot here with your daughter, like, who do you want to be remembered as to your daughter, to your wife? I mean, to your incredible clients. I mean, because I see you operating your life and your business as though your clients are also a part of your family. So who is Eelco to your daughter, or who do you want Eelco to be in, say, 20 years, 30 years, 100 years from now? Who do you want to be remembered as to them?
Another great question. I would love to be remembered as a father who is there for my daughter always, even when I'm not there. I would love her to remember me or see me as a wise man, who is not judgmental, so she can ask anything whenever she has her ups or downs, that she can come up to me for advice, for help, for love. I would really want her to look at me like, yeah, that's a guy that you can access anytime, any place, because he's there for you. And so yeah, that's like really, I want to be her backbone, and I want to be her foundation, and yeah.
And how do you see yourself setting that example, Eelco? Is it in running the companies? Is it balancing the quality of life? How would you describe it?
For me, it's like to really grow as a person all the time, and not necessarily grow all the companies or make that much money or whatever, but really grow as a human being and become a better human being all the time, because everybody has their flaws, including me. But like really be aware of life and of the flaws and of other stuff, to really keep growing, be open for growth. I think that's if I can grow all the time, or almost all of the time, and she sees the growth in me, and that's why for me it's funny to see my old YouTube videos, for example, or read my old stuff, I see the growth in me, and I would love her to eventually see that, yeah, this man, he's growing all the time in a positive way, and not necessarily with the bank account or the amount of companies, but really as a person and as a human being.
Yeah, and it's amazing. Jim Rohn, right? The late Jim Rohn says, your business and your life will only grow to the extent that you do, and you truly epitomize that. You're a part of a lot of different mentoring and mastermind. Again, you talked about this a lot more at ilovemarketing.com. And when we come back, I want to really get to the heart of like what makes you tick, Eelco. Some of the advice you would give to new entrepreneurs, as well as people who have a successful business already, of that next business breakthrough, and also get into some of the people that you follow, that you watch, that you really adhere to what they teach, what they do, whether you're a part of their mastermind group or mentoring group. I know Richard Branson happens to be one of those, and that's where we got a chance to meet, and be able to talk about some of you talked about your flaws and also the mistakes of what you do to deal with what I call the big F, right? The F word, which is fear and failure. I'm sure you've got a lot of wisdom on that. We're going to discuss that and a whole lot more with Eelco De Boer on growthtofreedom.com right after this. Welcome back to growthtofreedom.com. Boy, howdy, have we had a first couple great segments of the show. To give you a recap of the first two segments of the show, we've got Eelco De Boer. He's an expert, best-selling author. He's a serial entrepreneur, runs 6 companies, over 50,000 clients, primarily over in the Netherlands. And he's been talking about, internet fasting, having great rituals to build from, protecting ourselves from ourselves by setting up little games for ourselves to protect us. Do the epic things first. The skills for success, the advice that he'd give to his daughter, growing as a human being, befriending the right people, but be friendly with everyone. And we talked about opening up this segment with the idea of some of the flaws, dealing with fear, failure, and mistakes. So Eelco, what would you say, if you could describe? I know for me, I've had my ups and downs. Years ago I went through bankruptcy, and I've gone through divorce, and I've gone through things that, I thought were, really things that would take a lot of people out. And I found that once I got on the other side of these things, that there really isn't much that we can't do, that we can't accomplish. So what would you say, are some of the flaws that you have, and how do you deal with fear? Because I think it's one of the biggest things that stops most entrepreneurs and most people from achieving life mastery in general.
Well, first of all, I have no flaws, so I'm
there you go.
I thought you already noticed. But,
I know. I should have known that already.
Exactly. Oh man, I have so many flaws. It's, and I think it comes with the entrepreneur as well, that our mind is occupied a lot of times with ideas or with goals or with deadlines or all that stuff, and oftentimes having all these ambitions and all these goals, it could take us out of the moment, out of presence, and.
Yes.
So the number one thing I'm working on right now is really not have no deadlines, but really not being led by deadlines or by goals, but really just be in the moment, enjoy every day. And so my flaw that I'm working on is really practice being in the moment even more than I am.
That's incredible. So talk about fear. Right? You've obviously, you coach entrepreneurs, you coach high-level, successful people. You're part of a lot of mastermind groups. Talk about that big F word, fear, how you see it showing up. Many times people don't even recognize it as fear. They kind of stuff it away or stuff it aside, but in reality, it's the thing holding them back. The thing getting in their way, or the things getting in their way, is really that. So how do you deal with it? What do you coach people to do to overcome it?
Yeah, so I have a group. It's called the Bar Raisers, and what we do is we make decisions. So we come together and we sit down and we talk about which decisions do you need to make in the next 8 weeks, instead of what are you going to do on a daily basis or whatever. That's not that important. It's all about making the right decisions, and also making the fearful decisions, things that we're scared of, really plan it out, map it out, make a game plan on which decisions do I have to make in the next couple of months. Not make them all at once, but step by step make decisions. And it could, for example, if you have a coworker or an employee or a partner or whatever, really have the tough conversation. Like, yeah, man, things are not going well, and we need to work on this, or maybe we need to stop working with each other, or whatever. Those are, those are decisions that are filled with fear. But it's so important to make those decisions. If you're indecisive and you don't make those decisions, life will not go anywhere. But if you feel the fear and do it anyway, that's something powerful. And I think it was Joe Polish who said, and you probably know it better because you're around Joe all the time. But it's something like fear is what is it like? Anyway, courage is operating with wet pants, and you know the full quote probably.
Yes, courage is operating with wet pants, and although I forgot it, it's from Dan Sullivan actually, right?
Okay.
And is courage is actually doing it with wet pants, and fear is when you have wet pants. I forget anyway, but
like
yeah,
that,
it's
a great quote, but I have to search for it. But it's and that's it. It's like do it anyway. Of course, be smart about it. Don't do the dumb stuff. Like, don't act all the time. Like, think as well. But really, if you make decisions quickly, like one of my mentors, he's a Dutch entrepreneur. He's a billion euro guy, and one of his quotes is, which I wrote down, was like, I make over 100 decisions every day, and most of them are right. So you can never have everything right, but if most of your decisions are right, you can really move quickly.
That's great advice. I had a mentor years ago. He said, number one, identify your fears, list them. Number two, do what you fear most and do it over and over and over again, and learn to embrace it and play the game with yourself. So when we come back, we're going to go into building your next business breakthrough, your next life breakthrough. We're going to talk about who Eelco turns to for advice, who Eelco turns to for mentors, masterminding, that and a whole lot more coming up with Eelco De Boer on growthtofreedom.com. Welcome back to growthtofreedom.com. Let's give you a summary of the first three segments of the show. We've got Eelco De Boer, expert, best-selling author, serial entrepreneur, over 50,000 clients, sharing his wisdom, his insight on being a better human being, being a better entrepreneur, growing your business, and setting the foundation for leaving a legacy. I've got literally 4 pages of notes. I doubt they're probably as good as yours, by the way. I know you are a ferocious note taker and learner, Eelco. To give you a summary, we've been talking about internet fasting. We've been talking about rituals. We've been talking about the skills for maximum success, the advice he'd give to his daughter, growing as a human being. I love what you talked about, Eelco, about the idea that, we can be so consumed by goals and deadlines, we can get out of presence, and you're just working on practicing being present all the time. And then also not dwelling on bad decisions, which is where we left off, and that you don't need to be right all the time. You just want to be right most of the time in those decisions. So speak of what are some of the mistakes that you look at and go, wow, knowing what I know now, I definitely wouldn't have done that. What are some of the mistakes that you've made, and what would you say you've learned from them that our viewers, our listeners, those people around the world that can learn from that too?
Another tough question. So what am I again? I never make a mistake. No, just kidding. The first thing that comes to mind are mishires, and I think it's Eben Pagan who says emotional estimation and seeing only validation. That you don't want to grow the business, and you need somebody at a certain area in the business, and then you only see the good things, and you only want the validation that everything is correct, and then it's wanting, like, too much wishful thinking with people who are not a right fit for the company, and so that's a big one. Mishires, like the cost. I think a wise man once said, on Necker Island, what's the cost of a past mishire? And I think it was you.
Yes.
And the cost of a mishire in business is huge. It's unbelievable. And so I made some mistakes in mishires. Not that they're bad people or whatever, but we're just not the right fit.
And I even translate that overall in our everyday life. You even brought it up earlier about be friends with the right people, friendly with everyone. I kind of tie it in with that idea of it's a recruiting, it's a hiring or a mishire. just in our relationships, because what you talk about, the cost of it, not only in pure dollars and cents of cost of a mishire, but just the emotional drain or the emotional cost that ties in with that. So what do you do to protect yourself in, maybe creating a filter to identify for you what are the right people that you want to befriend?
It's tough to explain because it's an energy thing. You feel if you're connected with yourself, if you're connected with your feelings, you feel if something is right or not, and really listen to your gut feeling. Most of the time is the best thing to do, so it's I don't judge. I am not like, you make so much money or so little money or whatever, so I will befriend you, or you have this position, so I will befriend you. No, if you have the right energy and we connect on a good level, we become friends. And if we don't connect on the right level, we won't become friends, or we won't be working with each other, or whatever. So it's for me, it's an energy thing. Like if I feel like, hey, we're connected, then it's awesome. And if we don't connect, it's all good. But we probably won't become friends. We probably not going to work together.
Well, that's great advice. And I want to encourage you, as you're watching, as you're listening, be diligent with choosing who you choose to surround yourself with, not only in hiring, but even in your personal life. You become who you hang around most of the time. And what's the old Mark Victor Hansen quote that we're the summation of the 5 people we spend the most time with. And I know you spend a lot of time with some of the highest level entrepreneurs, high achievers in the world. So I'd love for you to speak to that as it relates to your daughter. Like if you were going to give your daughter, Donnie, advice, in a few years from now when she's old enough to understand, right? Who would you recommend that she go seek out as a mentor that you've had a chance to learn, wow, these are incredible people to learn from. Let's give you that jump start you deserve.
So you want names?
Sure.
Okay. A lot of those guys I became friends with. One of the guys I really respect a lot, and he's a great guy. His name is Elliot Hulse. He's big on YouTube. I like that guy a lot. Here in Holland, I have good friends. One of them is Albert Sonneveld. He's a Dutch guy, so you wouldn't know him, but he's a great guy. I have my trainer, for example. He's a great guy, so I would love to have him work with my daughter. But also my father. My father, he's a really wise man. He's a wise man, so I would definitely tell her to just ask grandpa and you'll figure it out. When it comes to knowledge and all that stuff, when it comes to love, she can obviously go to grandma and mom and other grandpa and grandma from my wife. Anyway, so let me think. Yeah, those are some names. Oh, of course, I love Richard Branson and all those people, but it's hard to be around a lot because he's on the island, and we need to get on. Maybe we should buy some houses on Mosquito Island next to Necker Island, so we can hang around there.
I agree.
It's a big thing because I really want to. It's something I've been thinking a lot about, like where are we going to live? So we live in Amsterdam right now. And I really want her to be, because I'm advocating all the time about, you have to hang around with great people. But for her, it has to be the same thing. She has to be from this age on, she has to be around great people. So she eventually will become a great person. She's already great, but you know what I say.
Yes.
And it's something I'm thinking a lot about, like what's the best place to live for the development of my daughter and soon to have a son in 2 months.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Absolutely. As far as Richard Branson, which is ultimately Joe Polish, he hosts this annual event, that he typically does each year. We go out to Necker Island. That's where you and I got a chance to meet, hang out there for a week together, which was just a blast, and it was awesome to get a chance to know you out there. What would you say are some of the qualities you admire about Richard Branson, and what do you put in place, or have you put in place in your life and in your business from him that works for you?
Fun. That's an important. I mean, I really think he puts epic stuff first and then build everything around it. Family, um, um, excitement, big goals, big challenges. He loves challenges. Be great for and with your people, like your team. Um, don't take everything too seriously. Um, be okay about your failures. I mean, he talks about his failures all the time. He loves to brag about everything that didn't work out.
Yep.
And but also like really enjoying life. Like, I mean, you met him. I met him a couple of times.
Yep. Same
I
here.
mean, the guy, he loves life. He just really loves life, and obviously he has his challenges still, probably, but it's part of his life, and he embraces it all. And I think with him, he sees everything as a potential good story later. So if he's in shit right now, he will probably think like, this is going to be a cool story in 1 year, 2 years.
Yeah, that's great advice. It goes along with that old adage that says, look back on it and laugh, and look at it right now like it happened in a couple of years. So,
Exactly.
it's just a great way to look at it. In your I Love Marketing episode, you started to dive in, but you ran out of time on this idea of creativity in business, and how it relates to addictive personalities, addiction overall, as an entrepreneur. So hit on the importance of being creative in your business, Eelco, and how you do that and what you teach others to do to channel that talent, that gift overall in what they do.
Yeah, I love this question because this is such a huge thing. So, as entrepreneurs, oftentimes we're really creative and we need to scratch that itch, the creativity itch. And one of the things that happen whenever we scratch the creativity itch is that our company changes all the time, not in a good way, in a destructive way instead of a constructive way. And the big challenge is, and I think it's Dan Sullivan, he says, like, do you want to be the entrepreneur with 25 years experience or 25 times a year of experience? And my big insight from last year is that we as entrepreneurs, we need to have that creative outlet, but we need to be creative with our marketing instead of with our business model or processes in our business or whatever. But we really need to put in all our creativity in our marketing and creating great marketing material and all that stuff. That way we are scratching the itch all the time. We are producing amazing stuff, which makes us feel good. But it's also constructive for the business because you can never be too creative in your marketing. It's amazing to be really creative in your marketing because it will work for your business. But if you change your business all the time because you have to scratch the itch, it's going to work against your company.
Yeah, and we see this show up a lot, right? The shiny object syndrome that entrepreneurs face. They get bored with things very quick, and it's what you talked about, that destructive nature that they have and channeling it the wrong way. So if I hear you correctly, what you're saying is focus your creativity itch towards marketing ideas, content creation, creativity in that marketing, like what you've done, creating your podcast, doing your videos. That becomes a channel for you, and you guide others to do the same. Is that right?
Yep, and if we don't do that, we're gonna go crazy.
Absolutely. That's just such great, sound, simple, practical advice. That's what I love about you. As I view you as well, in addition to you have this emotional mastery as it relates to your life and your business. Another thing that shows up for me is you have a unique balance of being a creative thinker, right, and an implementer at the same time. Which is one of the reasons I think you and I get along so well. So talk about that and the importance of not, elegant ideas mixing with execution.
Yeah. To really execute and create, cause I'm really happy whenever I'm productive, and I really go crazy whenever I'm not productive. And to come up with an amazing idea and then execute on it and see it come to fruition is something that's amazing. And I know for a fact that a lot of entrepreneurs, if they feel that they're in a rut, it's not working, whenever they make the switch from being busy to productive, everything will change. And a lot of people, there are a lot of phone junkies. They are on their phone all the time. But like really switch it up and switch from busy to productive, and everything will change. And it's a small thing, but it's a huge thing. And especially in these times, it's so easy to be distracted and do everything at the same time, but really being in silence and present and really being productive and creative. That's what we love, and that's really constructive for the business. So being productive is something that I really enjoy, and being busy is something I really, really hate.
Yeah, so be productive and constructive, otherwise you'll go crazy. And Eelco, do you realize that time flies when we're having fun? This is going to be it for the show already. I would love to spend hours with you, and I know, I mean, you just bring so much wisdom to the table overall. How can people reach you? Where can people find out about you, your site, your resources, all that incredible stuff?
Yeah, so if you're on the phone, or if you have a phone right now, go to your podcast app and just search for my name. So EELCO and then DEBOER, and you'll find my podcast. I'll release a daily podcast with my insights, my lessons. Otherwise, go to my website. It's EEL.co. So EEL.co, and you'll find everything. You'll find my YouTube channel, my podcast, and everything.
And I want to encourage you to go visit Eelco. He has got a lot of wisdom, talent, depth of knowledge. I mean, he's a voracious learner. There's a lot we can all learn from him. Go visit him at EEL.co, and also get his podcast at Eelco De Boer. You can look him up that way. You know, Eelco, I'm so grateful for you being on the show. I feel better for it. I think our listeners, our viewers are better for it, and I appreciate you watching and listening today. You can get a recap of the show at growthtofreedom.com/23. And if this show resonates with you in some way, you know, I hope you'll repeat after me. I'm a winner. I'm a champion. I'm the best. I deserve it. You do. I want to encourage you, find a mastermind group, find a coaching group, find a group to learn from. Seize the day. Make it a great week. Eelco, thanks for being with us. We'll see you again on growthtofreedom.com.